Today's Serial Entrepreneur Secrets Revealed episode is a special feature from The Complete Entrepreneur, hosted by Michael Gilmour every Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern on Clubhouse. This special crossover session brings together the insights and energy of both podcasts, offering a unique perspective on the entrepreneurial journey.
Startup Club on Clubhouse, and this show is The Complete Entrepreneur. This is a special episode because we don't normally air The Complete Entrepreneur on the podcast Start, Scale, Exit, Repeat, but we've been doing that recently because there's a lot of great content. It takes more to become an entrepreneur than just a code that you need to follow. And the show really delves into cracking the code of the human side of being an entrepreneur. And today we're talking about transforming your organization into a sales organization. And this is a mental process that needs to begin with you, the entrepreneur. Michael Gilmour is our host. He's here today. He comes in from Australia. Thanks again, Michael, for moderating today's show and being our host. I will let you know that Michelle Van Tilburg is out today. She's got the flu or something. So it's just you and I and the audience and those who want to participate and come on stage. Michael, take
Oh,
it
look,
away.
can I just say, Colin, it's so wonderful to be here once again on The Complete Entrepreneur, where we really begin to pull apart not just what it means to run the business as an entrepreneur, but understand the life of an entrepreneur, all their stresses and strains and things like that. And it's going to be today's topic is really looking at, great, you've been developing a product and you've got a great product in your business. But what you then want to do is sell the product. Or is that the right way to go? Or should you do it the other way around, sell it first and then go ahead and build it? Yeah, there's different things you can do as an entrepreneur, but there's one thing for sure, is how do you move an organization to develop a mindset that the client is the reason why they do everything they do? Is how do you change the mindset of the team, of the individual of the organization, to view everything they do through the prism of clients? And this is where it becomes incredibly exciting and incredibly challenging all at the same time, because I don't know about you, Colin, but one of the things I found in different organizations, different businesses I've led over the years, is that not everyone likes that. They really don't, and it's a big challenge for a lot of people, of getting that mindset of how do you view everything from the perspective of a client. I'll give an example. I remember many years ago, probably 20. Gee, I'm just getting on a bit. 25 years ago or something like that. I had a real problem. The fact that a lot of the different, it was in a tech company, it's an internet company. And the problem I had was that a lot of the bugs and things like that, which were just annoying things, not big things, weren't getting fixed. And they weren't getting fixed by the tech team. And you sit down with the CTO and say, hey, we need to get these things fixed. And everything seemed to be a higher priority. And it was very frustrating. And clients would be like harassing the salespeople, say, hey, this thing here, when I click on this, it didn't work, or whatever. And I scratched my head and thought, you know what I need to do is I need to go along and expose the tech team to clients. So for one day a month, I put all the tech team on sitting side by side with the help desk person, and they would listen and have to go along and deal with the issues the clients brought up. And you wouldn't believe, Colin, how fast everything got fixed, because they suddenly got a glimpse into the end user of the service they were developing. It wasn't some sort of theoretical use case. It was a real person trying to do real stuff. And they didn't want to go and sit there and have to deal with all these problems all the time and everything like that. So you know what the tech team did? They fixed them, and they fixed them really fast. And it was the best decision I ever made, of really moving the technical team into coming face-to-face interactions with clients. Now, the reason why I put them side by side with the help desk person or the salesperson side by side is because some technical people have trouble interacting on a client base, and you actually don't want them to do that. It just doesn't work for the organization, if I can say it that. Therefore, the salesperson or help desk person would then guide the process through. But anyway, it was one of the best
Michael,
things I've ever done, Colin.
I feel like you're jumping ahead a little here.
Oh, I am.
Okay.
I'm jumping way ahead, man.
Yeah, I think you're going right in the weeds, and like I'm okay. Hold on here. Okay, so like, and I can, I can't tell you how many entrepreneurs I meet in our incubator, people asking for investments and whatnot, and especially a lot of the, like the doctors and scientists who come and share their idea and their products, their patents and whatnot, and they're great. They're really good, but yet they don't have that ability to take it into sales. They might have a great technology, they might have a great patent, they might have great whatever, but they can't seem to break through on taking it into a sales and making sales for it. They're good at building it, but they're not good at selling it. If you build it, they will not come. We still have to sell it, right? So I'm going to give you my example of this was a bigger company, much bigger, it was publicly traded, but back in 2000s, we had a company, Michael, that it was a Hostopia, and you know about the company, and it was a web hosting and email company, and we had hundreds of developers, and we built the greatest freaking widgets you could possibly build, but we were losing $450,000 a month, and it wasn't until after about the third year we realized that people aren't just going to come and buy this stuff. We have to transform the business, and I think the first thing that needed to occur was that mentally the owners, myself and my brother, we needed to make a shift in our mind. We needed to say, okay, we built a good product. We know we have a good product. Now, how do we promote and sell that product? And there were a lot of things that we did at that organization to really move the dial. And I'm telling you, like, I literally put the CTO, the COO, myself, the CEO, and the salespeople and the CMO. I put them on airplanes and we'd fly for 2 weeks a month, Michael. And we'd go, now I'm getting into the weeds, but we'd go into the multiple countries and we'd sell and close $1 million contracts. I pulled them out of operations. We began to design our product around the customer's needs instead of what we thought the customer needed. We developed a BHAG, not a BHAG, a unbearable brand promise, we called it, which was 100% migration guarantee, because we needed to understand the customer. The customer was a buyer at a telecom, and we needed to take care of their number one concern, which was getting fired. So that's the key. It's like understanding all those elements. And if you're still even a one person show, mentally you have to make that shift. How do you go from you've got a piece of technology, you've got an idea, you've got a patent, you know it's good. And how do you go from there to selling? What are your thoughts, Michael?
Yeah, it's a really interesting one. But just before I continue on, if you're in the audience right there and you're saying, "Yeah, I've got some thoughts on this topic, or some stories, or disasters, or whatever it is," we'd love to hear from you. So stick your hand up and let's come up on stage, and we'd love to hear. I'd much rather be hearing from everyone in the community than just the Colin and Michael show. That's for sure. But yeah, I think the the first thing, Colin, is this. I found that many entrepreneurs, you're right, they scientists, or they're developers, or they've come up with an idea, or whatever. And the reason why they like sticking at that sort of thing is because it's in their control. For instance, I can go along and spend a week, and at the end of that week, I've developed X, Y, and Z, these great new features. Let's imagine in a technical company. So I've got these great new features just because no one's asked for them, or the fact that I have no idea how to price them, or the fact that no one's actually selling the features. Doesn't mean anything, but it's in my control. The problem with clients is they're out of your control. I just want to say it again. When you're doing development and things like that in your company, you'll have this natural affinity to move towards doing and achieving versus thinking and working with clients, because clients can go along and say, great what you're doing, not for us. How much control that you actually have over that it is much less compared to I've never developed a new feature. Yeah, so many entrepreneurs, they gravitate to the development side, and the reason why they do so is because it's in their control, Colin. It's in their control. It's all about control. Yeah. So
Or
it's
is it
really
about their personality, Michael? Like, for instance, I've met a
I
lot of
think there's an
entrepreneurs
aspect of that.
who are no. Listen, I've met a lot of entrepreneurs who are really good at sales, but the operations are shit. It's just that they can't cobble together any. They get the deals, but they can't seem to execute on them. So it's
I
really
think
about
the
there's
good
a personality
entrepreneurs can do
profile
both.
there.
I think
No,
the good
I'm not.
entrepreneurs can do both.
I'm not. I can't
Yeah,
do both.
they could do both, or they've got the wherewithal to be able to partner with people or to get the right team together around them that can do the different skills that they don't have. And they're rare individuals, to be quite blunt with you, Colin. The individual who can look at themselves and say, you know what, I'm not good at this. I need to get someone else who's better than me. And that requires a level of humility that many entrepreneurs just plainly just don't have. Um, and so it's a bit of a challenge, for them to do that. But I think a lot of it is about control. So you get one sort of entrepreneur who's the developer, the engineer, the tinkerer, the inventor. So they develop in the product and they're terrified of customers. And you're right. The other entrepreneurs out there are the ones that um, they'll sell snow to Eskimos, right? But they forgot that they've actually got to have a snow making machine. They've got to have a process. They've got to have people actually building the product or the service for the Eskimos. You know what I mean? And you quite often get the two extremes. Um, and the second extreme entrepreneur is the one which quite often gets touted as the scam artist because they're selling things that don't exist. And well, the first one is a person who builds wonderful stuff and no one ever wants it, or they just have no idea how to sell it. So they either camp never has a real business. Steve Jobs said, "Never go and buy a product from a CEO that can't do the demonstration for you." And I think that's actually a critical statement, which is what he was saying really is you need to bridge both those gaps, even to some sort of level. I'm a firm believer that the leader or the entrepreneur of an organization should be able to sell. If you don't have the skills, then go and learn the skills. Like read books, go to courses. There's so many things on how you can sell and all that sort of stuff. You won't be the best salesperson in the world, but at least begin to shore up that weakness you have. And on the other side, bridging that gap is on the other side, which is sort of the developmental side and things like that, is if you're a person who says, well, I don't know how to program, then learn the rudimentary side of programming. I'm not saying become an expert programmer, just learn it. Spend a few days actually understanding how things go together. And I'm a firm believer that your organization will go as far as you can go. I'm not saying you become the expert, but you need to shore up those weaknesses. But anyway, so transforming into a sales organization, Colin. So what's some things that you can actually do to be able to do that? To transform. If you've got a business and you're saying we
Absolutely.
got
Okay.
lots of
Yeah.
products,
Yeah.
lots of services, how do we do
Got
that?
it. Got it. Okay. So, and this is in the book, by the way. Start, scale, exit,
Oh, I
repeat.
know. I was taking a look at it this morning.
Yeah. Exactly. It's like it's a reference guide, right?
Yeah,
And
exactly.
so in the book we have four sections. We have start, we have scale, we have exit, repeat, right? And scale, we talk a lot about transforming your organization into a sales-driven company, and it starts first with the mental shift in your mind. Okay, I want to do this. Okay, I want to do this. then what we need to do is we need to identify the positions that we need to hire or partner with in order to become a sales-driven organization. And what is the personality profile of those individuals? Okay, and then once we've got the personality profile, we've got the people in place, we need to create a sales playbook. Now, let me tell you this. In the book, we interview a guy named Jim Bennett. He sold his company for many, many zeros, 100 million, 200 million, whatever it was. I don't have the exact number, but it was way up there. And he's doing it all over again with his kids. It's incredible. And it's such a simple product that he's selling. And when he does it, he simply created a playbook for the sales team. But these are the scripts and whatnot. But talks a lot about not being totally scripted, but it's a playbook. And then he launched it, and it repeats the processes over and over again, and they get better and better at each process. I'm telling you, the training in his company is like about 6 months long. But the people who work there make a lot of money, and they drive the business forward. We did a couple things, Michael, at our company. One thing that we did is we implemented a daily sales huddle. And this was 8 minutes every morning before 9 o'clock, standing meeting only. We had all the salespeople around the table, and we had the executives come as well. The CTO and the COO and myself came as well, and the CMO. And we all three would all come into the room, and executives were only allowed to listen. But we'd go around with the salespeople every morning and we'd ask you, okay, what's your top victory yesterday? What is your focus today? And are you stuck? And believe it or not, the number one question was, what was your top victory yesterday? And how do I know that, Michael? Because man, did it motivate me. Because I actually did participate in this call, and the other executives didn't. But I would participate, and I knew I had to come to the table with a victory, like, oh, I just called up the CEO of Verizon, and he, I didn't get to him, but they pushed me down through the system, pushed me down to the CTO, and we've got a meeting in New York tomorrow. Or I just contacted the guy from Yahoo, and these are some of these customers we actually had, by the way. Yahoo, Verizon, Vodafone, British Telecom, those type of customers we had. But I knew it had motivated me. And when I knew it motivated me, I knew it would motivate anyone. And by the way, when we first implemented it, within a week, we dropped maybe 2 weeks, we dropped half the staff. Because you either perform or you don't perform. That's it. So I can't tell you how much having a daily sales huddle can impact your business. When we went IPO, we used RBC as our underwriter. Every day, twice a day. They were twice a day, by the way, but they're probably the most intensive in the world, right? But they were twice a day. They had meetings with their team. When I say salespeople, the people that helped us go IPO. It is something you need to think about. It's actions you need to take. It's not going to happen by accident. There are methods and systems out there. The other thing we did, we hired a sales consultant. All right, somebody who helped us draft what you need to get to the customer, or the documents, or that we do at the time was fax, it's now email, it's this, that, and the other, whatever it is. Hiring a sales consultant to help you with that, again, the sales playbook, right? There's a gentleman by the name of Jack Daly in the book, and he talks a lot about a sales process and sales management. Oh, that's the other thing. We hired a great sales manager. We didn't promote the best salesperson. We hired a great sales manager. We go on and on in the book, and we talk about how many things you need to do to transform into a sales-driven organization. And this is something you can do. The vast majority of companies fail to scale, and a lot of the reasons are that they don't scale their sales. And you have two personality profiles. I mean, there's more, but we'll just run this for now. You've got the dominant personality and the sales personality. So they call those DIs under the disc profile methodology. Then you've got the DSs and DCs. Basically, DSs and DCs hate sales. That's what I said, Michael. I don't like sales. I don't like to do sales. So if you don't like to do sales, you got to hire the right people who can do sales. So the DCs tend to be more successful at creating much larger companies. I think Bill Gates would be 100% a DC. Steve Jobs would be 100% a DC. Elon Musk would be 100% a DC. So some of the larger entrepreneurial minds out there have the personality profile to identify, analyze, and figure out that they need to hire the right sales leadership and create a sales team, create the sales playbook, put all the systems in place. Then you have the DIs. Now, DIs are the vast majority of entrepreneurs. They're the ones who are out there. You know, you could be a solopreneur, you can sell, you can get lots of contracts, and their biggest weakness on scaling is they don't necessarily have the operators underneath them or behind them, and they can often fumble the ball because of that. But here's where it makes a difference. When you're a DI, when you're dominant and influential, you are the one who does all the sales. And it's very hard for you to hire somebody it's very hard for you to let that piece go. Right, Michael? So it's very
Yeah,
hard
well,
for them
can I
to
just
let it
interrupt you there,
go.
Colin?
No, but I know, but
yeah, I've been through this, Colin. I've been through this. I'm a DI, right? And I had to go through the process of letting go to a person who became head of sales. That was a really tough thing to actually do, because you keep on saying you can do it so much better. Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt. I just interrupted you, saying, go for it.
Well, and then the final thing I was going to say, Michael, is that that particular entrepreneur profile, because they're the one-man show, it's hard for them to hire another person, scale sales through other people, and that holds them back. And it's actually in the book I talk about being one of the number one reasons why entrepreneurs fail to scale is that they're in the way. So in any case, if you're in the audience, we're having a conversation about sales, transforming your company into sales. If you hate sales, come on stage. If you love sales, come on stage. We love to hear from you and really just talk about this issue, because it's what we do. We talk about this. We help each other out. We help figure these things out. You do not have had to written a book to get on stage. It's real. And if you do come on stage, we love following you and love connecting with you as well. So please feel
Absolutely.
free to raise your hand and come on stage. Michael,
That'd be
any other
great to see
thoughts
some
right now?
people up here. Yeah, no, it's an interesting one, Colin. The whole challenge of entrepreneurs be able to they have to do so much. They've got to go and build the product or the service. They've got to be able to build an organization. They have to be able to sell the product and service. They've got to make sure they keep clean in terms of the statutory requirements and things like that. There's a lot of different things. And quite often I've seen entrepreneurs, they end up gravitating to either end of the spectrum, like development or sales. And really, you're a person that needs to be a fabulous generalist, but maybe have a leaning in a direction. And I must admit, one of the biggest challenges I had was getting a sales guy on board and then train them up. And I said to him this way, I said, you are a resource to me. And this is at the beginning of the relationship. And as he learned more and more about the sales process, and we have all sorts of sales documents and everything like that, I said, you're a resource to me. And recently, a number of about 6 months ago, I said to him, I'm now a resource to you. So you pull me into the meeting if you think I can add value. You then have to go along and arm me on how I can add value or how you want me to add value. And it was a transformation that we went through in the relationship. but it was a really important transformation. Otherwise, I, as the entrepreneur, would become the cork in the bottle. The company would then be limited by my capabilities to do all the things I need to do because I wasn't prepared to relinquish the sales part of the business to this individual. And it, it was really something I thought about a lot, Colin. And so one of the things I'd recommend is this: find someone who you believe can do sales, has a proven track record in sales, and begin to have that almost apprenticeship mindset. Like really train them, up, take them with you everywhere, invest into them as an individual, and they'll be a great resource to you. But at some point in time, you're going to have to go a lot. The relationship needs to change. And that can be quite wrenching for an entrepreneur. Now, I have said to this guy, head of sales, I've said to him, look, there's some people I've had a relationship with for 20 years. This person, this person, this person, these three people, I want to know exactly what's happening with them. And I will probably maintain that sort of first port of call with them, simply because of relationship level. But everyone else, fair games, all across to you. Yeah, and it's interesting. Even those three people is now whittled down to one. There's only one person in my business where, like in terms of clients and things like that, which I have the number one relationship with, versus my head of sales now. And it's been really quite an interesting journey. The other thing, Colin, one of the things I did, in fact, this week, I took the entire team away in terms of changing the organization and changing the mindset. I took the entire team away. We went away down to this really nice place on the beach here in Australia, and beautiful golf course and all that sort of stuff. And we had a 2-day retreat. And we tackled a whole lot of things from highly technical to right through to what are we doing on sales and all that sort of thing. And one of the things we tackled was this whole issue of viewing everything through the prism of a client. And so we also talked about innovation, things like what does innovation look like? And we wrote down all the list of things we're planning on doing as a company. And I said, I want you to read each of those items on why we do it and the impact it has for customers. And sort of the techies sort of like scratch their head for a minute. But that's just like putting a new server in. I said, well, describe it to me and how it's going to add benefit for the customers. Well, it's going to add benefit because it'll make it faster for the customer. I said, okay, well, then articulate it. The reason why we're adding a new server is so it's faster for customers. And they began to get the swing of it. And each one of the items that we'd written down of innovations we plan on working on, that each one of them began to articulate in terms of the benefit it would give customers. The reason why we're building this internal dashboard is so we can provide better customer service. The reason why we're doing this incredibly complex technology is because it's going to give this benefit for customers. Yeah, and Colin, it became a complete reset for the team. It wasn't a lost in the ivory tower and we're building this technology. It was the reason why we're doing it is for customers. So if you're struggling in your company right now and you're sort of saying, how do I change the organizational mindset from one of say technology or development projects into one of sales? One of the things I'd recommend, take the entire team away and create a point in time where it is going to be the reset. And I know that that's, like I said, that we made a decision, and I did that this week, really planned it out, did all sorts of fun activities and things like that as well. And some crazy activities, but the mindset from my end goal as the entrepreneur, the CEO of the company, was to migrate the thinking more and more to be client focused. That was absolutely critical. So,
Yeah, Michael,
Colin,
I
do
want
you
to follow
find
up
that
on that.
as well?
I want
Yeah.
to follow up on that because, in the book, again, I keep coming back to the book. I do that. If you have a copy of the book, it's chapter 32, Scale Your Culture. But the the culture statements that we can create, if we can mold our culture for our organization and change it so it doesn't become a tech driven organization, it becomes a sales driven organization. We can do that by working with the executive team and changing that culture. And by the way, I know you might not be a one man operation, but you can still have values, personal values, cultural values. And I think those values should include being a customer centric company. So I just wanted to share with you, like, the company I've been talking about is Hostopia. It was publicly traded. And here were the values in our company. First and foremost is respect. Yeah, we had a lot of fighting going on in the company. Okay, so we had to put that one in there. There's only four, by the way, only four pillars. And they're phrases and statements that you can repeat over and over again. Recognize greatness. We spend it like our own. And when our customers succeed, we succeed. That's it. 20 words. And they became the lexicon in our office. And a lot of our sales staff would put that in their tagline: when our customers succeed. This idea that you're going to become a sales driven organization isn't just related to getting good salespeople, although that's important. It's about changing every part of your business and mindset to focus on the customer and the needs of the customer, and to make that part of the culture of your organization. Yes, we do need great salespeople. We talked about how do we get great salespeople through profiling, creating a sales playbook, doing daily sales huddles. We need all that in place. But it starts with a mental shift in the entrepreneur's mind and then a culture shift. Michael, we had in the chat someone asking, what do you think about the influence of AI in sales? Like, how I do know that um, a lot of people have been using AI for marketing. I'm just curious what you're thinking about for sales with AI, Michael. I know I'm putting you on the
Yeah.
spot here on this
Yeah.
one.
Yeah. That's an interesting question. Yeah. Um, it really depends upon the sort of sales you're doing. For instance, in my particular business, there's 100 people in the world that we need to do business with. I don't think AI. No, this just me off the top of my head. I don't think AI is going to help me in that process because it's very relational. And the reason why we get business because we've sowed into those relationships on an ongoing basis, and it's been innumerable lunches, it's been dinners, it's been whatever. For instance, we're based in Melbourne, Australia, and as Colin knows, I travel quite a lot, and we're one of those very unusual companies which goes and actually visits customers in our industry. We don't know anyone else who really does this. And so we actually sit down with them and we talk with them face to face. And we've got so much business from doing that, Colin. And that's been really good. So I'm not sure how AI would help in that regard, but AI in terms of like if you have like a B2C or something like that, or if you have a larger constituency, so you do analysis and everything like that, the data coming through and everything, I think AI would be invaluable,
Yeah, I agree.
absolutely
And
invaluable.
you're making me think about, people like to do business with people they like, and
I
people
agree.
like to do business with an AI they like. Um, let me
Good,
throw this out
excellent.
because we did a show last Friday on, and it's in podcasts. Will be in podcast soon under the title "Serial Entrepreneur Secrets Revealed." And we had a guy come on who was coming out with a technology that did cold calling based on AI. And he was saying that he was getting his initial tests were getting better results. Now, it could be a novel thing here too, by the way. Okay, so maybe he's getting better results than humans because it's novel. I have not had a phone call yet from an AI. I know Michelle said she had a phone call from an AI. So this concept that he's come out with, Michael, is that it does the cold calling and it starts to talk to you. But the good thing he does right away, he says, "Okay, I'm an AI. Don't shoot me. I'm an AI, and I want to talk to you about this opportunity that we can do with blah blah, blah whatever." You know what I mean? And he tries to humanize the AI. And if you've used pi.ai, she or I mean I have a female voice, so I call her she, but she is has got quite a personality. Oh my gosh, and and she's interviewed me on Clubhouse once. I'll probably bring her in tomorrow to our show tomorrow, Michael. But she's hilarious, and I could see AI playing a role. So in sales, if you have a large customer base or prospect base, AI has to play a role, even if it's just helping to personalize the emails or personalize the messaging that goes out. Because I'll tell you right now, it doesn't work. The way it works right now, it's too. You get it, people catch it right away. But I'm wondering if AI can help with that, and that's going to be. I guess that's more marketing and prospecting. But I guess that's all connected to becoming a sales-driven organization.
Yeah.
But nothing
It,
changes. Nothing changes between the fact or that concept that people like to buy from people they like.
That's correct. And it's a really interesting thing. So I think AI will continue to develop and things like that moving ahead, and people use it in different new and innovative ways. It's another tool, in my personal opinion. I'm just reflecting on our retreat this week. One of the other things we had was there was a great big goal we're trying to achieve as a company. And I said, the day we achieve this goal, and it doesn't have like a time frame for this goal. And you may say, well, that's a strange goal. I said, well, if we achieve this goal, then we're going to take everyone down to this resort and we're going to celebrate and we're going to spend a few days just enjoying each other's company and all that sort of stuff. And you can bring your wife, partners, and so forth like that as well with you, and we're going to have a great time together. And everyone was like really excited, like wow. And I said, the sooner we can get this done, that's great. And it gave a focus of there is going to be a reward. I think it's actually important to reward people,
And let me
particularly if you're
guess, Michael,
beginning to
the
get a
reward.
sales focus.
Let me guess, the reward wasn't we're going to have this code delivered. It's going to be this sales target.
Yeah, so exactly. It was directly tied to revenue for a particular reason, which I can't go into. But then I had a slide that said, however, audacious goals deserve audacious rewards. And it was like, what's this? And I played this video, and the first thing was, if we go along and able to achieve this, then there's a place called Phillip Island just down here. We're going to go there, and it'll be really nice. It's great. But the video I played was of a resort on the Great Barrier Reef, and I said, if we achieve this goal by the 31st of October this year, and it's a bit of a stretch, if we achieve it, I'm going to fly you all to this resort. It's like a 6-star resort. You're going to be pampered like you wouldn't believe. You're going to have an awesome time. And we're just going to celebrate achieving this goal by the 31st of October. The thing I found at the end of that, there was stunned silence. And then the tech guys began to say, if we do this, it'll help us get towards this goal. Another guy goes, oh, I've got this idea. One of the things we could do is this. And suddenly you had these tech guys getting excited about like achieving the goal by the 31st of October. It was actually really interesting to sit back and watch. Just the reaction. I said, you're going to get a reward if we achieve this goal. No matter what, we're going to go to this other place. So I kept on saying to them during the rest of the day, I said, the thing we need to decide is, do we have a Phillip Island? Is this a Phillip Island decision or is this a Hayman Island decision? So is this a local place, which will be wonderful, by the way, or is this going to be spectacular? up on the Great Barrier Reef. So every time during the conversation across the 2 days, because I did that towards the beginning, um, uh, the tech guys would say, "Hang on a second, that's a Phillip Island decision. We want to go to the Hayman Island. We need to do this." And you wouldn't believe the change it actually made, that there was this reward there. And I think it's important, Colin, if you want to change your organization, then throw the doors right open and be outrageous with how you reward people.
No, I love it, Michael,
Completely outrageous.
and I really like this thesis or this idea that everyone is involved in sales.
Yeah, everyone's involved in it.
Every single person in the company is involved in sales. And I remember going back before
Yep.
we made our sales transformation in the 2000s with that publicly traded company. I remember the only people responsible for sales were sales. It was totally siloed. It was
Yep.
the salespeople and marketing. They have to go make their money. It was so bad, Michael. They even locked the doors. The technology people had special access to the technology area of the company. They didn't want sales or they didn't want salespeople coming in
Yeah,
and
that's
saying,
wrong.
"Oh, my client needs this or my client needs that," or they said you have to open a ticket. You can't come through this door. You got to open a ticket. That's just
Yeah.
funny because it's like what you
That's the
said
death of a
there.
company.
What you said there was absolutely amazing. You
Yeah,
talked about how every single person in the organization is involved in sales. And that is
absolutely.
probably one of the keys to transforming into a sales driven organization.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, and it really thought it about what was happening previous to that was that a salesperson would have a problem and they'd toss it over the fence, um, and to the tech people and say demand that they fix this, and the tech people would hit a problem and toss it over the fence to their salespeople and sort of say demand that they talk to the client about this and that they should stop doing this particular thing. And it was like there's a great big wall, and neither party was talking to each other. And this whole goal, and the whole retreat was essentially, from my perspective, was all about destroying that wall, get rid of the wall, and let's all work together. And if you're going to do that, you need to reward people. I keep on coming back to you got to reward people, and you got to be prepared to put your hand in your pocket and make it a like if there's an audacious goal, there should be an audacious reward. And I said to them, no matter what, you're going to get rewarded if we achieve this particular goal. But if you do it in this time frame, let me tell you, we're going to have just a most incredible time. And I had a whole video and everything like that of them people snorkeling the Great Barrier Reef and swimming with turtles and all this sort of stuff. Yeah, all those sort of things. You put them in the dream machine, and it became quite interesting. The other thing I did as an activity, Colin, on this retreat, is that it's actually my wife and I we came up with this idea. We bought every single person as an activity, a team activity, a little box of Legos. What they didn't know is we'd opened up the Legos and we removed some of the pieces from each box and swapped them with other boxes, and then we resealed them. So what then happened was that these boxes and this team sort of activity, it only took like 15 minutes or something like that. Each person had to build their Lego, and they found they're missing pieces. And I'm missing pieces, and no, I ignored it and just watched what happened. Another person said, well, hang on, I'm missing pieces too. And then you get one of the team members would then sort of say, well, hang on, I think you've got my piece. That'll work here. And the other person say, oh, you got mine, and so forth. As they began to communicate and interact, and to realize that, you know what, the other people had the pieces to their little Lego. And I said, and I wrapped up the end. I said, you may have a great solution that you're working on, and you make it a brick wall, but the other person's got the missing part that you actually need. So talk. One of the great things you can do to your organization to transform into a sales organization is foster communication. Because You'll do things faster and faster and faster if you can foster the communication between the different people, whether they're salespeople, whether they're technical people, and everyone's working now together to build, in this case, the little Lego thing, or the client relationship, or this deal, or whatever it is. We're all working together on this. So just today, for instance, there's a meeting at 10 o'clock with a major client. My head of sales is there, and he's got two of the senior tech guys are in the discussion, and I'm not, and they've got everything under control, and they're working together. It's a really interesting thing to see. I hope you got the example I was giving with the Lego kits there, Colin.
Yeah, I do. I was just reading the comments. Joe Slaughter, if you want to come on stage, I can't understand your comment. Outrageous, you know what some me was steak. So we'd love to hear from you, Joe. There, we've been on here many times. And
Yeah,
if you're in the audience, you want to just jump on stage. We got 14 minutes left. This is just to sort of set the room. This is also going to be syndicated in podcast on our main channel, which is Start, Scale, Exit, Repeat, Serial Entrepreneur Secrets Revealed. We love to feature this show on that podcast channel as well because if you're an entrepreneur, it's more than just figuring out what you need to do on your business, but it's also what you need to do in yourself. And when we started this conversation, we started talking about how do we need to mentally make a shift in our own brain to become a sales-driven organization. And then once we make that shift, once we say to ourselves, okay, I want to be a sales-driven organization, we've got about 30 or 40 different points here that we talked about on today's show. You can go back and listen to, or if you want to get the book, Start, Scale, Exit, Repeat, it extensively talks about how to do this. And it's one of the key ways that you can scale your organization or scale your company. Look, business doesn't happen by accident. It's also a freaking roller coaster. And we need to understand how to emotionally deal with start. How do we emotionally deal with scale and transforming into a sales driven organization? And the mental challenges that go along with that, going from delegating tasks to delegating responsibilities, even in the case of sales, delegating responsibilities, to exiting the company, to repeating that over and over again. And we really do tackle all of this in the book, Start, Scale, Exit, Repeat. It's been, and I'm doing a commercial here, Michael, but it's been the #1 bestseller in 13 categories on Amazon since we launched on October 3rd of 2023. And tomorrow, we're talking about at 2 o'clock Eastern. Would love to have you join us. We're talking about catching the AI wave, and you can catch waves. And this is one of the things that we talk about more in the book than almost anything else, is how you can catch a paradigm shift, a technical shift. And we have been blessed, every single person in this room have been blessed to be in a period of time in history where we have the greatest wave of all, which has been AI, and it will mint more millionaires than any other technological shift in history. But again, if you're in this wave, you need to learn how to sell. You need to become a sales-driven organization in order to capture the value that comes from that wave. And that's what we're talking about today, Michael. I know I just sort of digressed there a little bit. And
yeah,
uh,
it's an interesting one. That look at.
Joe in the chat says, sold me. Okay. And he's coming on board well. So we love you, Joe. We love it when you come
Yeah,
on. But it's a tough topic for me personally. And it was a tough one to write because although every entrepreneur is in sales, I did IPOs and stuff like that. It's just not my natural instinct. I know you're more affable. I've seen you at conferences, Michael. You sit around, you chat, you're like hanging out with people. You love to talk. I hate to talk. I hate to talk because it's like a waste of time for me. But then I've got Jeff. Remember Jeff Sass, who
yeah,
helped us with the company, and then you got Michelle Van Tilburg. I got others around me who can do the chatting and talking and stuff like that. But for some entrepreneurs like myself, it's like I don't have the patience for it. How do you have the patience to build those solid relationships? And by the way,
yeah.
what kind of relationships do you need to build to make a sale?
Yeah, it's really interesting. It obviously depends on the product or service did you have and that sort of thing that you're selling. Um, but I think it comes down from me anyway. Is I remember I took my daughter to one of the conferences, and uh, and I took her to all my meetings, and she said, "So who are we selling to today?" I said, "We're not." And she goes, "Sorry, Dad." Yeah, "Who are we selling to?" I said, "We're not. We're not selling anything." And she goes, "Well, I don't understand. What do you mean? Like, why are you here? You've got to get return on investment, yeah, this sort of stuff." And I said, "No, what we're going to do is we're going to listen, and we're going to work out if we can help people. And if we can help people, that's great. And there's a benefit for us, fabulous." And so it's a matter of listening first. I said to her, "Don't leap into your solution before you've listened. You have two ears, one mouth. Use them in those proportions." And it was quite amazing. Like, um, just to sit there and to listen to you. It's interesting you said, Colin, I see you at conferences, yeah, and you're always in different meetings and all that sort of stuff. I could talk, we could spend a whole session on conferences in terms of sales, things like that. I like to expose my tech team to conferences because they get to actually interact with real people, and they get to interact with clients and opportunities and things like that as well. So I team them up with a salesperson, and I find that works well. And the thing I find quite amazing um, for people in the US is that the cost for you to fly from one city to another is like a couple $100. Like, it's not very much at all. And yet many businesses don't do that. They don't establish the relationships. For me to fly a team member from Melbourne, Australia, say to a typical conference I go to in the US, that'll cost me about 10,000 Australian dollars plus. I'll put it in US dollars, it'd be about 7 grand in US. That's minimum just to fly them, let alone hotel and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, so it's a real investment, but it's one that I found really works, Colin, is that developing those relationships is key, particularly in the type of industry that I'm in, is that it's all about the relationships and sowing into those relationships. So there've been some companies we've been to, like we've traveled from one side of the world to the other, and yeah, I've visited them 3 times, got no business whatsoever. But now we've got a call, just had this is an example. Got a call from that company and the person there, and they said, "Look, Michael, we just need to go along. We got so much business. We need to actually move to you now." And I said, "That's great. We're traveling to the US. Love to come visit you again for the 4th time. Let's have dinner and let's talk about how we're going to do that." And it's because there's a level of trust that gets developed over time. As I also, I was at a conference, Colin, and a guy came up to me and said, "Why should I do business with you?" And I said to him, "Because we're still here." And he goes, "That's a really good answer." There's an issue of longevity as well. In terms of transforming into a sales organization, I think that you could be the hardcore sales, like, and just out there and beating the drum and all that sort of stuff and everything. And there's some businesses really require that. But if you're selling Gulfstream jets, my guess, high pressure sales is not going to work for you. So it depends what you're selling. It really does depend on that and the approach and all that sort of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
to Michael,
uh,
I think that you're touching on something here. Like, I really believe that. Um, See, when I was doing sales at Dot Club and Hostopia and these other companies, they talk about it's really B2B. So we're talking a lot about B2B here, but I think this can apply to B2C as well. Is a one word: authenticity.
oh,
Like,
absolutely.
really being authentic with your customers. And by the way, that also means sometimes acknowledging when you made a mistake and doing that. And then it may shock people too when you do that, by the way. acknowledging, look, we made a mistake in this proposal. We should have come here. We know that you want the lowest price, and so we are, and just acknowledge it. And sometimes that has happened with me in the meetings before, and other CEOs were like, "What?" And it was a particular
Oh,
meeting with the Colombian company I'm thinking about, where
yeah.
our sales team promoted, like, I was trying to sell them something and I could see they were not buying it. And I saved the day by saying, look, guys, we apologize about this presentation. We know that your needs, because they, are different, and that you have a lower paying customer base. So we've got a package we can deliver you. We can do all of this with, and they loved it. They loved the fact that it was so authentic. It's like those who come on Clubhouse, like Shadow, right? And Joe, those who come on Clubhouse, they're authentic. They're real. We love to
Yeah.
hear from real people and talk with real people. And it's no difference in sales. Authenticity. What are your thoughts, Michael?
Yeah, I think you're right. Like, I remember many years ago, I had a sales guy. He said to me, he said, "Look, I've discovered we made this mistake with a particular client, and it's cost them money, but it's okay. They won't find out. They won't find out. I can spin it this way." And I said, "Don't do that." And he said, "Well, what do you mean? We'll save the company money." I said, "No, be authentic with the client. Tell them we made a mistake, and that we'll make good." And so it had two impacts. The first impact was obviously the client was pleasantly surprised that we were being authentic with them, but it had another impact. It was on the sales guy, that he knew the company had his back. He knew the company had his back, and we were prepared to put our money where our mouth was. And it began to transform him as an individual. And he became a tremendous sales guy, amazing. Fast forward a number of years after that, and we had another guy come in, and we're in a sales meeting, and he tells me, announces to everyone, like, "Look, we made this mistake, but I managed to say these things to the customer, so they'll never know, and we're going to save ourselves like X number of thousands of dollars." And there was a bit of silence. I said, "Sorry, pardon me," and he repeated what it said. I said, "So let me understand this. You told the customer a lie." And he goes, "Well, no, but it's managed to save us a whole lot of money." I said, "Well, hang on a second here. Have you logged the lie in the CRM system?" He said, "Well, no." I said, "Well, you better make sure you log the lie so we're all aware of the lie, because we're going to have to be across this lie now. And so that when we meet the person at the conference, we need to understand the context of the lie. And by the way, when you're in a group of people at a conference, you're going to remember all the lies you've told to each person. And you've got to really hope they don't share any of those lies in amongst that group.
I don't think
Otherwise,
they
you're going to be
lasted
in real
very long,
problems."
did they?
They were gone within like they were gone very shortly after this.
Yeah,
So
and
I said you can't have that. If you want to destroy your sales organization, allow them to lie. It'll destroy your
we
company.
talked about culture earlier, Michael, and
Oh, you can't do
how
that.
important that is, how important
Yep,
culture is. Uh, we fired multiple salespeople
yep.
because even though they were good, because they violated those culture statements. And I know
Yeah,
we have
you
Joe on the
just can't
stage
have that.
here. We're going to close it out here, Joe. I mean, thank you for saving us
Joe, great
at
to
the end of the
see you.
day.
Love to hear from you there, Joe.
Great to hear
Far
from
away.
both of you. Yeah, when you were describing the story about your daughter joining you, it reminded me of something today in one of the patent and innovation calls. They were talking about servant sales in a way, that at some point you end up self actualizing the work that you're doing, and then you realize how you add value to someone else. And so, only by adding value to someone else's work, first you must intake what they need, servant sales. So I thought that was kind of fascinating that there was another circle that was almost talking about it in a fringe.
I think it's a good way of putting it, Joe. Is servant sales is first seek to understand before you seek to be understood. Listen before you go along and start doing your big sales pitch and all that sort of stuff. Really listen. And this is one of the things I try to instill into my sales team and all that sort of stuff. and the whole team, is listen first. Listen to what the client is saying. And sometimes you have to listen between the lines. As I think, Colin, you said it was the biggest issue for some of the people you're ultimately selling to was the fact that if something went wrong, they would lose their job. They would never articulate that. They would never say that. But you've got to listen. So it comes down to, Joe, what you're saying. Be a servant to the person. Really understand them. What are the stresses? What are the strains? And all the things like that that they're going through. And teaching your company to be a company of listeners is going to be one of the first things you need to do in terms of transforming to sales. Teach them to listen. Keep your mouth shut. In fact, the company Chanel, when they have people, new people start there, Chanel, the perfume company, all the people are allowed to attend meetings, but they're not allowed to speak for 3 months. They're not allowed to contribute to those meetings for 3 months. They need to listen. It's an interesting philosophy there, Colin. But anyway, you guys have been listening to The Complete Entrepreneur. Thank you for coming to the distance with us here. Joe, I'm going to follow you right now. It's great to have you up here. And it is wonderful. The Complete Entrepreneurs, we tackle some of these really interesting topics here about what it means to be an entrepreneur and some of the challenges, the real challenges. Both Colin and I are avid entrepreneurs. We have been all our lives, and we've got a whole lot of experience, but we'd like hearing from you guys as well. And Joe, thank you for coming up on stage. It's just a wonderful time that we have on The Complete Entrepreneur. And Colin, so what's going on with Startup.club?
Okay, yeah, we've got a number of speakers coming on. If you haven't already done so, go to startup.club, www.startup.club, and sign up for that mailing list. We've got some really cool speakers coming on next month. I think the newsletter comes out tomorrow at noon. I will say, too, the book Start, Scale, Exit, Repeat, Forbes put it on sale for one more day, and that's it. It's done. It's going back up to full price tomorrow. I think today's the last day of the month, leap year, right? Yeah, that's right. So it's going up full price tomorrow. So if you ever wanted to get a copy of the ebook, it's $2.99 right now, and that doesn't matter. I mean, we've spent 10 years on that book, Michael, and 200 interviews, and 50 of those went in the book, and we have dozens of call outs and illustrations. It's color coded. It's been number one.
It's a fabulous book.
Yeah, number one
It,
for 13 categories.
yeah.
So if you wanted it, I don't think price matters, because I know a lot of people might be listening to this in podcast and say, do I spend the $10 versus the $3? But I do think they might put it back on sale in September. There's been some discussion about that. But otherwise, thank you very much. And tomorrow at 2:00 Eastern on Friday, catching the wave, catching the AI wave, and we're talking about catching a wave, which includes the AI wave. So there are many different technological and paradigm shifts that occur every day in our lives, and you can benefit from those, whether it's Airbnb or whether it is the sharing economy or even AI. So tomorrow we're going to talk about that at 2:00 Eastern. And you're obviously, Joe and Shadow, welcome to come on stage. And Shadow loves talking about AI. We know that. So you're welcome to come
Yeah.
tomorrow. Thank you very much. We'll see
That's
you all
fantastic.
next week.
Yes, and next week on The Complete Entrepreneur, we'll be tackling the topic of the cost of raising money. The cost of raising money. Many entrepreneurs view raising money as one of their first objectives, but what is the cost? Is it more than giving away equity? What is the emotional cost of raising funds, and is it really worth it? You're going to be digging into that, the cost of raising money. And let me tell you, it's going to be a fantastic topic. It'd be great to see everyone next week at 5 p.m. Eastern Time on The Complete Entrepreneur. God bless. May you have a wonderful time in your business this week. See you later.